This isn't usually how these videos start out. Usually I'm in my car getting ready to go see wildlife, or I've already seen wildlife and we're about to talk about it. But hear me out just for a few minutes. We're going to talk about Patreon. Patreon, the website where people can support creators, myself included. There are people there who very generously support me, and I'm extremely appreciative of that help. For their patronage, a couple of things. Early access. So if you see a video come out on YouTube and it's brand new and it's dated from almost a month ago, that's why. The different tiers on Patreon get access to it 1 week at a time, and then it goes live to everyone. I also put exclusive stuff on there, things that I don't feel fit within what typically goes onto YouTube, or as an incentive, I try to record extra things like that. For example, at one point I wanted to practice speaking, so I recorded an audiobook, 1 chapter at a time, and I released them specifically just on Patreon to try to avoid any copyright, even though the book was older and in the public domain. I also, even if you thought somehow it couldn't go more off topic and more off the cuff, I record just straight audio, usually when I'm driving home from wildlife, especially when it's several hours long, or if I don't have a connection to listen to music. I'll just record thoughts that pop into my head. It's like a podcast, but less interesting. The people on Patreon get access to photos. All of the photos that I take that you see in the videos, they get access to the actual files for the photos. They can download them and use them as a background or something, if that's a cool thing. Or look at them in more detail, zoom in and whatnot, like most things you can't do on the phone. Although YouTube started that, but only if you're on mobile. Anyway, for the highest level tier, I've started offering prints. I will actually print some of the really nice photos that I feel excel, print them, and mail them to you. And also, you get your name in the credits at the end. You might have noticed a few months ago I started doing that, where I started putting an end screen at the end of it. Anyway, just a few of the benefits. There's more to come. There's stuff moves around as I think about it usually, but those are the benefits currently as I'm recording this. I also usually record special things for Patreon, like thanking them and telling them about my latest purchase so that they know what their money is going towards and they know how it's helping. I usually try to use that money just to improve the content that they're getting, essentially. And I think this thing is really going to improve that. It's something that I debated about for a while. I'm going to stop beating around the bush and talk about it now and get to it. I purchased a GoPro. I debated about a GoPro. I talked about it a few months ago when I picked up this camera, because this one was better for vlogging, basically. It's got the stabilizer and things like that. The GoPro also has that, but the GoPro can overheat. However, eventually I knew I would one day get a GoPro. I used one at one point several years ago. I stuck it on my hat and it made my hat too heavy, and then I put it on my chest and then it was in the way of the straps and things like that. It was really old. It only recorded in 1080, and since then I've tried to make it a standard that I do 4K 60 frames per second for all of my stuff. It's just easier if my phone can do it. So if I pull out my phone and record a clip, if I'm using this, that's anything in all standards. So getting a new GoPro, making sure that it had that. Most of them do nowadays. It was just a matter of actually spending the money on it. And thanks to the people on Patreon, I was able to help pay for that, not entirely. I used some of my remaining tax return to get that. But the reason that it's included here, because it's going to be there going forward. One of the things that I really want to do, that I feel like I'm lacking on whenever I go out, is kind of showing more, telling more of the story, showing more of the environment, the landscape, whatever's going on. It's really difficult if I see wildlife, if I'm aiming at a bird or anything there. I'm focused on that, especially with a big lens. It's all zoomed in on that, and I'm focusing on the subject. You can't really see what's going on around it. So it's not easy for me to take a hand off of what I'm doing to then try to pull out this camera or my phone or anything else. I need something that's just mounted to it that can just be on and going. Hence, the GoPro. The GoPro is going to go right on top of this camera, and probably all the cameras that I use, depending on what I'm out doing, because rarely I'm using more than one camera at a time, and even if I am, I can still have the GoPro going at that point. So I talked about it in the last video as well. I've tried to work out a better system for the audio. I don't know how well this is gonna be seen because there's not really a backdrop. Oh wait, I am my own backdrop. I have set up here a whole grip attached to the side of the camera with my audio recorder and my shotgun mic and a battery bank to power it. I don't have any of the cables hooked up right now. Some of the cables are still in the mail on the way to me, but the GoPro just came in as of 20 minutes ago, and I immediately turned it on and was like, great, cool, let's put it on there, record a thing, and then put it away for the week until time to go. So with a GoPro on top of the camera, my only concern is that the lens might be in the way too much of the shots where it is, so I might need a little extender to raise it up so that you can actually see more of it, but that's the goal. And that's kind of why I wanted to make this the intro to this week's vlog, because my plan is to go out, I mean, it's Monday right now, but my plan for this weekend is to go out and record video of the birds that I have been going and seeing and taking still photos of. If that works, you'll suddenly get a different angle to see the birds, to hear them hopefully in such different ways. So I've got a wide angle and a close-up going at the same time without having to futz about with grab a camera from my pocket, press record, jiggle that while doing this, but don't make noise because you'll disturb the birds. It's a lot. You're home much sooner than I expected. So that's it. A special thank you to the people on Patreon for helping me afford this. I hope the content that comes out of it is worth it, because I think having the ability to just have something ready to go and just press a button and then you can see the landscape, you can see what I'm looking at, you can see a wide angle of the animal that I'm currently videoing. I think that'll be another way to tell the story, another way to give another look, literally. And I thought it would be a bit disorienting if all of a sudden it's just included without any kind of explanation. So now we will cut to Michael on the weekend, hopefully if it doesn't snow, going out and looking for wildlife. Oh, shoot. Okay, we're back out on a Saturday. I don't have a whole lot of time because I'm kind of running late. The sun's already up and I want to get going. So I thought I would just record something real quick as I was putting my camera stuff together, but then I was focused more on that than anything else. So there's that, this, this gets plugged into here, you go into here. Anyway, that's what I'm talking about. I think that's it for this bag. This probably isn't very interesting. Do I use this or not? Probably not. You've seen the intro. I shot it before, which is not usual, but we're doing video, finally, getting back to that with the new camera. Haven't done that in a while. I guess the Rocky Mountain elk would be the last time I shot video, and I didn't like put in a tripod or anything. I was just in the car. But anyway, I've got everything set up halfway. The only thing that didn't happen, and I think I mentioned it, it was several days ago now, I need to get like a riser thing to put the GoPro up higher so you get less of the lens in the shot. I don't have that. It didn't come in yet. It's supposed to be here like next week, so hopefully by next time I'll have it. But I did that. I drove here. I'm running a bit behind from when I want to be out there right now, so I'm trying to wrap this up. But I did think of a thing where I should go for a drive. I've got a GoPro now. I can mount the GoPro. I've got suction cup mounts already, so I could do that, and I could actually put this camera at one angle and this camera over in something and record from a few different angles, and just go for a drive in this area and show, because I'm pressed to do that now. I wanted to do that before I left Wyoming. I don't reveal where I live for obvious reasons, the expensive stuff that I have and doxing and things like that, but before I leave, it is nice to kind of drive around and show and talk about things like that. I wanted to do that in Wyoming, and I just didn't have time. I planned for it, I thought about it, and then it was just like, I'm exhausted from trying to move. So I'm thinking if I can do that earlier this year, that would be good. The winter would be great. I won't release that until we move. But the move has been on our mind. We've been looking at places, trying to figure out where to go, looking for jobs for her on remote, trying to figure out where we're going next. So it is happening. It's just too expensive to stay here. We're surviving, but not thriving. So I know it's coming, and I'd like to show, especially on the drive here, it's just so beautiful. There is one part where you come around a corner and it just opens up and you just see white mountains right now. And especially here at this time of day, the sky was all pink and blue, and it was very pretty. And I'd like to show that. So I might do that. I haven't decided yet. I mean, it's definitely a good idea. It's something that I'd like to do. And if I do that, again, that won't come out for many months. So maybe I'd do it again in the summer and kind of clip them together to be like, here's what it looks like right now. And this is what it was in the winter. I got extra batteries in here. Oh, shoot. Oh, man. And I just dropped one all the way down there. I wish I had a bit more room in here and I wasn't so cooped up. Anyway, I have to bundle up because it is very cold today. So I don't know how long I'll be out there, but my goal is to go out, see wildlife, the birds that I have been seeing, hopefully get some video of them, and try out the GoPro, see how that works out, and hopefully get some video of the wide while getting the close. That's my goal. We'll see. Weird. I gotta move the car somewhere. I'm gonna go find somewhere where I can sit and talk for a while without getting distracted by the amount of people that show up like last week. I had to stop getting overpowered by the sun. It is extremely bright, but the sunlight is here. So if I put myself back behind it, I just have to lean back a little bit. Oh, very sunny out today, apparently. And the sun just reflects that. The snow just reflects that. So anyway, the wildlife that I saw was not a lot, but it was pretty cool what I did see. I heard a lot of birds, so I got a lot of audio. Mostly they were like crow and magpie over top. Couldn't really get the camera and yank it in order to get to the point where I can see from through the lens. There's just no point in immediately trying to. Fast movements can scare the motion. The motion can scare off animals anyway. So better to not and just wait. So I'm waiting and I'm waiting and I'm waiting, and I did what I could with the GoPro, which I learned an interesting lesson. It was so cold, battery died almost instantly. And that's not an exaggeration. I got out there, I walk a little bit from the car. We're near the bridge, I've shown it at this point, and so I also got some footage from there. And I press the record button and it comes up and starts recording, and it shows it's like 94%. I'm like, great, all right, we'll see how long this lasts, and I recorded a minute maybe, go a little further and keep going, and I'm out there maybe 15 minutes in total, and it won't turn on. And it's just like, it's down to 1% battery and out. So, great. So that didn't last at all. So it's going to be fantastic in the summer when it's this cold. I mean, this thing died almost instantly too. The batteries in these just could not last today. And the battery in the little battery bank that I have is quite old that I'm using for the audio stuff, but it lasted. It didn't seem like it was going to last. I plugged it in, and within probably 5 minutes of running the audio recorder, and that's it. It's just supplying power to the audio recorder, and the audio recorder is taking in an input from a shotgun mic that has its own battery, and then outputting to the camera, and I monitor through the camera. And it within 5-10 minutes, it goes from showing full battery down to 1 bar and blinking, like I'm gonna die soon. But it lasted 3.5 hours in that blinking state. So that's weird, but it does tell me I don't really trust it. That battery bank is old. I got it when I first started playing Pokemon Go, and I was out walking around a lot, and I was like, yeah, I could use an extra battery, charge up while I'm out. So that was a long time ago. That was several years ago at this point. Several years. Man, when did Pokemon Go come out? Whatever that summer was is when I bought that thing. So it's old, and I only ever use it for, it's basically sat in storage for a long time, and now I've been using it for the audio recorder, but I've got something else on the way that just hasn't been delivered yet for the audio recorder, which is bigger and more milliamp hours. But most importantly, it is basically the size of a cell phone, and it's nice and square, whereas the other recorders that I have are big and bulky. This thing it's thick. It's got a lot of juice, which is good, and this lasts for a really long time. It's still showing full, 4, after charging something for several hours. That thing lasts for a while, but it's big and thick, and I can't really mount it on the camera as easily, which is why I'm using the smaller one. But I'm getting something different to use for the audio. That should be arriving. And honestly, I'll probably just go ahead and order a second one, because it's the square, it's more like a phone shape, and it fits in my phone holder that I'm using for the battery bank that's on the audio recorder. So I'll just get that, and I guess I'll make sure it has 2 outputs, so I can run one to the GoPro and one to the audio recorder, because the GoPro needed to be plugged in almost the whole time. It's back up to full charge now, and I was able to use it, but for a lot of the while I was like, well, this is useless because I can't be recording right now. However, I didn't see much wildlife either. So eventually, after probably an hour of being out there, and it's so cold, I hear something and I turn around, and I'm like, I'll take anything at this point. And it's across the river, which is completely frozen over with so much snow I did not expect. It's a lot taller in snow. And I see a magpie up in the trees on the other side of the bank, so it's further away, and it's completely backlit from the sun because the sun is facing. I got myself into a position and kind of dug out a little trench in the snow to set up the tripod, and just sat there and was like, I will just wait, because here in these woods are where I've seen the most birds. When I came out last week and the time before, when I walk further to the point where it's more open, I don't see as many birds. So in the forest, where I hear, and where all the trees are, is where I hear the most and where I've seen more. So magpie on the bank across. hopefully that comes out. It was doing some calls. I mean, it's going to get, you're seeing it now. You just saw it probably. I don't know how I'm going to edit this, but a little bit of a problem. Audio recorder, right? Shotgun mic. The way I had it set up, I had both these microphones and the shotgun mic going, which when I record on here works because it separates them as separate tracks. So if I need to hear something closer or something more around me, these are a bit more open to the environment, and this is very directional for further away. So the problem with that is that it combines all of that to just one track and sends it out to the camera, which would be fine as long as I remember to press record, because then I get my separate audio tracks here. I didn't remember to press record, which means the next clip is just from the camera, so it has everything combined. I'm going to fix that for next time. I just won't be using these. Unfortunate that I don't get all of that, but if I forget to press record, we lose the good audio of just this. I can't separate them after the fact. This was interesting behavior. I don't think I've seen a bird rub its beak on a branch before, like it was itchy, and so it was scratching it with the branch, maybe? There you go. There was that. And then nothing for probably another hour. You could hear some, so I got plenty of that stuff. I heard the howling of something. Pack of dogs? A pack of dogs seems weird. I mean, we are right next to a town, so there definitely were dogs, but the howling was interesting. And then I did see a chickadee for about a half a second. Just long enough after, probably, like I said, another hour, there's a chickadee. And it was like, great, look up, get the camera going, you know, press record on the GoPro, hope that it's going. I really like this feature on the GoPro when it works. When it's not below 0 and it's to the point where batteries are just like that, this has a really good feature of just being able to press the record button and it'll instantly power it on, start recording in whatever your custom mode set, which for me, I set up everything before, so I can just press the button and let it go, and I don't have to think about it. I don't have to press multiple buttons or anything. And then when I'm done recording, press the button and it powers itself back off. That is a fantastic feature, especially for what I'm doing. Really good. Works really well for this. I've kind of hurt myself by putting these glasses on. It looks super overexposed. It keeps doing that. Anyway. And then I stood around for another hour or so. Like I said, I was probably out there for 3 hours in total. It got to the point where it was just too cold, and I went, I have to go. When toes and fingers start getting numb, I've been out for too long. And in this well below freezing temperature, it's just uncomfortable after a while and so very cold. So as I get ready to leave, GoPro's working again. I've had it plugged in and charging for a while. I plugged this thing in too. I was using all of my battery banks today, and I drained one Sony battery. The other one's probably at 80% because I popped in another one. Well, it went from 100 to 15% over the course of 2 or 3 hours. And I popped in another one just to be safe. And then shortly after that, it got too cold. And pretty much the camera was on the whole time because I'm listening to the audio, I'm looking around and things. So I changed the power setting. Instead of turning off after like 30 seconds to turn off after 5 minutes. And within 5 minutes, I'm touching a button and doing something to keep the camera on. So that's nice. That battery lasts. That battery can do well in the cold. And I've got a bunch of those batteries. So is what it is. But anyway, as I get ready to leave, I was like, oh, well, I can maybe record something real quick, like just turn on the GoPro and just get me like walking through the snow, you know, from the view of the camera while it's on the tripod. And I'm getting ready and and I see something like as I'm going on the bridge, and then I'm like, oh, what's that? And I got a shot of something. I don't know. You'll see here, and the editor will tell us what it is, hopefully, if he can identify it. This one took a good while to identify, probably a full half an hour of looking through the books. Let's watch the clip again, slowed down. And the way we're going to be able to identify it is looking at some freeze frame images from it. I thought it was some kind of sparrow, mostly gray. It's got a few identifying factors, the white ring around the eye, white on the tail feathers. So I started looking through, trying to identify anything that had those. I came close thinking maybe it was the sagebrush sparrow, but that's not here in winter, even though sagebrush is not too far away. Eventually, I am flipping one page at a time through the books before I finally spot something that is mostly gray with a darker head, the white around the eye, the white on the feathers. And then I went, well, it's possible it is darker on its back, but it really needs... there's more color to it. If I can just show you. Townsend's Solitaire. And again from the other book. So there, it looks very close. It's possible. It's got the streaking, but does it have a bit of yellow on the wings? I had to go frame by frame to catch it where it was actually in flight as it was taking off. But yes. That is a new one for me. It is the Townsend Solitaire. And then I go to the other side of the bridge, and I'm standing, and I'm just looking, and I'm doing all this stuff, and then like 3 feet from me whizzes by something else, but it went by so quickly I couldn't get the camera. So in total, like 4 or 5 birds, but hey, I'll take what I can get here in winter. I think this spot's going to be great come spring and summer. I think, you know, there's plenty of stuff here. It's hard to see, and it's spread out enough that I can hear things and not be able to see them in the trees, but hopefully, as the winter fades... Oh, there was a train. I got a clip of the train. We're right next to the train tracks. If anyone, this spot was where I came to and recorded. I've talked about it now. I did the landscape video when I was trying to practice with that and the slider track. And so that really, like, I came here for that. And we're right next to train tracks. I got a shot of, like, seeing that stuff with the train. And there was a train today. It's the first time I've seen a train here. So I just turned on the GoPro and watched the train go by at one point. So yeah, I think that was all that I saw. Mostly just frozen after about 3 hours being out there. I think I'm going to, I've tried something with moving the, doing that? Maybe it's just because I'm parked around. I'm literally covered with snow on all sides. I drove a little further away from the park because it was so busy last week, and I kept getting distracted while I was trying to record in the parking lot, which is just a space that's carved out in the snow. Yeah, it's bright enough that I can't keep my eyes. Whew. It is what it is. Sorry about that. Maybe next time I can try to find a snowbank to huddle up next to so that the sun is not beating directly into the car. But that's going to be it for today. Got to do some video. I'm glad to be back doing that. That's good stuff. Hopefully the audio worked as well. Got a few more things to pick up, namely so that I can get the GoPro raised up a little bit, because I basically just angled it up. And the reason is that I don't mind the lens being in the shot, except for the fact that I have a feeling, just based on something like this as well, which is why I've moved this, I have so much trouble with the steering wheel being in the shot and it focusing on the steering wheel instead of me. I have a feeling with this, with the big lens right in front of it, it's going to focus on the lens and not the landscape that I'm trying to get, which is why I did my best to keep the lens out of the shot. And I think raising it up another, yeah, it's like an inch and a half off the camera body. That should help. I'm going to get a different battery bank so that I can have this thing plugged in, since apparently we're just going battery banks for everything. Maybe I'll find a way to attach a battery bank to the tripod. But they don't make big tripod. Like, I had to use a video tripod today for the amount of weight that's on there. The smaller, the nice one that I have from Peak Design will not carry that much stuff. Like, the lens alone is already kind of pushing it, but that's what I used when I was out last week. I also have a gimbal head on top of a monopod. But that gimbal head, man, when it gets cold, when it's this cold, things start freezing. Like, the grease in things freeze together. It's really hard to use. Like, the monopod, I mean, the gimbal on top of it, it's hard to get it to move. It just chugs because it's frozen. The grease inside of it's frozen. And especially, like, these binoculars. They're fine right now. Look, they move like this. But when it's frozen, it's like, it doesn't really work. It's just really, really cold here. Well below freezing and below zero as well. I try not to go out when it's that cold, but I was just excited to do the video stuff, and I'd rather get out today because it's going to be snowing the rest of the weekend, so there we go. I'm going to do that. Battery bank. I think that's it. I think that's, we saw what we saw, and this was good, and goodbye. Yeah. Okay, one more thing, because I remembered how this video started back at home, talking about Patreon and things like that. Again, I'm sure I said it a few days ago when I recorded, but I will do it again today. Thank you. Honestly. The support, it may not seem like much, but it means a lot to me, and eventually it leads up to purchases that help me. I hope that this, like, for one thing, I hope this thing lasts for years. That other GoPro has lasted for a good 10 plus years. I don't use it because it can't record in 4K, but now I have a brand new one, and this should last for years. And I think that this will be interesting to see what it is. I'll be able to mount it in different places. Maybe I'll, I did something a few weeks ago where I recorded just audio when I was out the entire time, pretty much. And I thought, well, this thing should be able to record for hours. Apparently it can go for almost 5 hours doing 4K with the memory card I put in there, if the estimate is right. So if I can put it on, it's a bit difficult to put on the camera because the camera moves around, and I don't think that's going to look very good, but just like an ambient, like, come along with me for the entirety would probably be something I would shoot for Patreon exclusively. For anyone who's interested in just the entire time when I'm out walking around and looking for things. Probably that would be better with still photo rather than trying to focus on all of the stuff, but who knows. Yeah, maybe I'll do that at some point. Not when it's this cold. When it's this cold, I'm not going to get that long for the battery life. It's not going to work. But that was something that the Patreon menu, once the money from Patreon, the people on Patreon, went towards buying this GoPro. And I hope that the footage that comes out of here, the addition of an extra angle when we go out, an even easier way to just press record and go, benefits the videos. I hope so. I think it will. So yeah, just wanted to say that, an extra thank you, because I really appreciate it. And I think this is going to be a worthwhile addition. So yeah. Now we're done. Okie dokie, just gonna test something. Let's see if the cat will make a noise. Hey. 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 Oh, big yawn. Grumpy? Okay.